At the beginning of today, Norweed Caroline Briggs noted something about an indigenous approach to the world that rather struck me. She said, when we talk about country, we talk about it as if we're talking about ourselves, one and the same thing. This point was reinforced by Sarah Lynn Rees. Imagine that for a moment. We have a shared responsibility to look after the land so that it can look after us. Another form of the same reciprocity was evoked by Bruce Pascoe when he poignantly asked, what does it say about a person that they don't care about the future and actively frustrate those who do? Does that person not care about their own children and their grandchildren? This idea of acting today like it matters tomorrow is the cornerstone of what all our speakers have been talking about today. Many of us are not there yet. We're still denying that our actions, born of old historic habits, have consequences in the future, both near and far. Yes, we are slowly, reluctantly, begrudgingly lumbering into some kind of haphazard action. But it's becoming clear to many of us that we need much more. Nothing short of a fundamental shift is needed in how we understand our agency on this planet, as not separate, not individual and distinct from other agencies, but connected to everything else. Bruce reminds us of this, of having agency for millennia in Australia. The land grab 2 centuries ago was born of the lie that the people living here had no agency on the land. They didn't do anything on it. So with that, why not just take it from them? Maarten and Anupama talked about agency too, but through a different lens. As architects trying to innovate and explore new ways to build and construct, what is made very clear is that this can only happen if there are others brought along on the journey. We have, over the years, decades, centuries even, built an entire infrastructure of how we build. Supply chains, manufacturing infrastructure, commercial lending and buying regimes, planning controls, not to mention professional codes of practice and disciplinary areas of specialization, if not isolation. It's all very well to come with a good idea that you can sharpen and polish and perfect, but if you don't bring the wider ecology of actors into the frame, nothing can be done at scale. We are stuck in a cycle of bit-by-bit change, as opposed to the systemic change that's needed. The leg bone's connected to the planning code bone, the planning code's connected to the construction code bone, and so on. It's all connected. This is somewhat what Tega Brain is also trying to do, to show us how things are connected. As an environmental engineer and artist, Tega is interested in provocatively exposing what we normally think of as the hidden infrastructure of how we live, such as plumbing and wastewater, and bringing it into sight, exposed so that it's no longer infrastructure under and below reality, but it's rather interstructure, the stuff that holds us all together. Projects like Solar Protocol and coin-operated wetland beautifully reflect this attitude. Technology for Tega is not the problem, or not necessarily the problem, but can help us do things differently, if in the right hands. It can help build connections. Timothy talks about connections too, about what they call the symbiotic real, as opposed to the word nature. They resist how we use the word nature, as out there, separate from us, because it disconnects us from it. And that disconnection is what allows us to blithely to carry on living relatively unchanged while disaster happens around us. Disconnection is the key. And the consequence, as Timothy reminds us, is bound in those two frightening words, mass extinction. More than frightening. Thinking about the next 100 years is terrifying, they say. The next 1,000 years is horrifying. The next 10,000 years, petrifying, literally turned to stone. What he was doing just then was to look at timescales. We've been busy with timescales too over the last few years, thinking about future frames for how things will change. By 2030 this, by 2050 that, 10, 20, 30 years. This is only a little terrifying. But some of us have children that may well live another 60, 70 years. And what of their children, our grandkids? We need a new time frame. What if the first question we asked of every decision we were making was, how will this impact what is around me in the next 100 years, in the next 1,000 years? Perhaps then we might be heading in a better direction. The question is not bizarre. It was a lived reality only a couple of hundred years ago in Australia, and it remains a lived reality for some Australians, as we were reminded this morning. How is that slide from Sarah, visualizing 60,000 years of living on the land versus the last few years of colonial settlement? We need to be reminded visually, palpably, physically about those time frames more often, maybe every day. The long frame was then and is now a reality for traditional owners and First Nations people across the planet. It is a reality that is easily accessible to us all as we drive past an escarpment in the road and it reveals a stratified line of rocks. Those stratified lines they're all bendy and they trace pressures of tectonic plates that have compressed the land for billions of years. You can pull over, pick at the clay and pull away a small rock. What you're probably holding is something that was once at the bottom of the sea, 10 to 20 billion years ago. You're probably holding something that no one has ever seen before. That rock last saw air possibly 20, 30 billion years ago. This is geological time, and it's the kind of moment that allows us to glimpse the different scales of time that many of our speakers have referred to today. We need to glimpse those different time frames. We need to bring that time frame to the decisions we make today. Are we there yet? No. Are we getting there? Maybe. But in a final act of temporal dissonance for today, perhaps we need to slow down faster. Perhaps we need to take the long view in the next 5 minutes, or even right now. But right now, I have a few reminders for everyone. First of all, the Pavilion Design Reveal is coming, and the Expressions of Interest is opening on the 7th of July for the 2021 program. I would like to thank the team who have worked tirelessly for many months to develop the program, let alone the last-minute sprint to move online. Sam Redston, David Newstein, Jen Zelinska, Molly Braddon, Gabriella Holland, and Claire Curnow, and the production team at Unknown Visions and Light Years. Our colleagues at each of our partner institutions should also be thanked: Melbourne University, RMIT University, Monash University, Swinburne University, and in Sydney, UTS. Thanks once again to our sponsors, the Victorian Government, through Creative Victoria and Development Victoria, RACV, and of course the Naomi Milgram Foundation. Now stay tuned for a very special announcement, the Pavilion 2021 design announcement. Map Studios from Venice shall be joining Amy Muir to reveal the much anticipated design of the Pavilion 2021, opening the 11th of November in the Queen Victoria Gardens. But of course, you might be joining us from 2050, and if you are, I hope you're well.